Hello, this is my second video for the day, my second Thanksgiving Day video. It's almost 5 p.m. The date is November 26th of 2020. And let me see, first of all, I'll just go ahead and pull up the picture of, here is the turkey, 23 pounds, that we have devoured about half of it already. You know, I've exercised a little bit of control today. I am not sick. Usually when we have turkey and dressing and all that kind of stuff, usually as soon as I eat, I am sick. And I go to bed till I feel better. I managed a little well. You can see I'll show you here more pictures of the turkey, more pictures of the turkey, more pictures of the turkey. Oops, wait a minute. Oops. Not a picture of the turkey. Okay. Here's my plate. So I ate all of this, and it's kind of nice on a Thanksgiving not to be sick. I exercised a little bit of restraint this time. Remember I told you if you watched the previous video that what's the name of this one? EM client was loading. This has been going on for hours. I think what it's doing is loading in, I think, all of my messages. And there are years and years worth of messages. So, and by the way, I received an email from my daughter in Washington, D.C. showing their dinner plate or whatever for Thanksgiving. And then that friend that I mentioned in the previous video sent a picture of the food that they received from a neighbor because my friend and his wife broke her ankle or tore something loose, and they don't want to get out, and he doesn't want to get out and leave her alone or anything because of if she should fall or something difficult for her to get up and stuff. So anyway, they sent a picture of what the neighbors brought over. So I'm guessing since our family just sort of did this, that there's a lot of families across the United States doing the same thing. So let's check out. Man, look at the virus cases. This increase. This is massive. It's going to be big, and this is going to. It's going to be bad. It's going to show up to people are getting out and traveling here at Thanksgiving. So the virus cases are skyrocketing, and some people are getting out and traveling, by air and everything else, and getting together for some. So it's not good. It mentions here U.S. air travel sets a pandemic era record. So it's a record for, airline flights, but it's for this current virus situation that we're into. I don't know about this Supreme Court ruling. The Catholic parish, or not the parish, the diocese, or the whole, the diocese, all the churches, and through their bishop there, or is he a cardinal now? I'm not sure. They filed a suit in the Supreme Court, and also I'm not sure what kind of, I'm not sure if they don't, the Jewish church or synagogue, I'm not sure how that works, if they have a group of their, how they work in their organizational thing. But they joined in the suit, saying that it was unconstitutional that churches had restrictions put on the number of people they could have attending during this disaster, where restaurants and a few other things either didn't have restrictions on them, or their restrictions were less or something. So, and I can understand in a way. I mean, if you've got a tavern and they can have 50 people in the tavern, and your church can only have 25 or something, I can see. But on the other hand, as shepherds of their flock, I understand you have to protect the First Amendment, freedom of religion. First Amendment is also freedom of speech and freedom of the press and what have you. But I don't know, are they sitting there together as shepherds of their flock, protecting their First Amendment rights? But look at the number of cases of the virus, and we know the death rate is skyrocketing, and it's actually going to get worse. And then there's other things that enter into it, like small communities. Their hospitals, a lot of them do not have intensive care units, and in the past they haven't had a lot of intensive care units, but when they needed one, they would transfer a patient to a larger facility someplace else, and maybe in another city, close by city or something. But now those intensive care units are filled up and filling up, and before long, these hospitals in these rural areas they're not going to have any place where they can transfer these patients. There won't be any place for them to go. I just watched this video, an ICU nurse. This is the same nurse, by the way. Before and after picture. I think she's only been I think she graduated like 6 months ago or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But she's a new nurse. And bang, she comes out of nursing school and goes right into, into what her and these other nurses are having to deal with, and so she posted a picture. These pictures. She posted a picture of, her before, she goes to work, and a picture of at the end of the probably 12-hour shift. And you can see, these marks and things are from, wearing the protective mask and all that type of stuff. But anyway, she posted the thing on some, I don't know whether it was Facebook or gibbity gobbity bobbity, one of some site, who knows. She posted something on there, and then she's been attacked, and not physically, but she's been accused of lying, that it's not as bad as she says, and that at the end of the shift you don't have these lines in your face from the mask and all this. And I mean, very vicious attacks, so much so that when she was interviewed by CNN, she requested that her last name not be used. And it's just on top of the the services that these hospital employees do when it's not the type of situation we have now, when it's not this virus, I mean, that's hard enough work for them, and they have to put up with a lot. And now with these extraordinary demands and pressures being put on them and expectations being put upon them, if they complain or disagree with a certain group of people, they get attacked and threatened and, you know, everything else. And it's just, come on, people, let's be adult. And I didn't click on this one, but a mayor tells the residents to stay home for the holidays. Then he flies to see his family. Yeah. This is, of course, all the stuff that Trump has been doing is disturbing. You know, I didn't click on this one. It says Trump administration removes experts from the Defense Policy Board. I don't know what the Defense Policy Board is, but it sounds like it might be important. And, you know, you have Trump appointing, during his term of office, he's appointed the worst possible people that he could appoint. I don't even see how, you know, Trump must be talented, because I don't think anybody else, if you told somebody else, like, hey, we're having this is a game show. Now, here's what's going to happen. We want you to, you know, here's $1 million for whichever one of you wins. What you need to do is pick the worst possible people you could pick for, I mean, you couldn't really pick, you know, but have a list, you know, defense, health, you know, economics, or whatever. Okay, pick the 10 worst people. Whoever picks the 10 worst people, you know, gets $1 million or whatever. I think Trump could come in because Trump's already done that. He could win. I don't see how he could find so many incompetent, totally wrong people. And now here at the, you know, the end, well, he's been doing it his entire time, but now here at the end of his term, he is getting rid of any people who are competent that were in the administration or whatever that he can get to. He's getting rid of them to make it harder, apparently, for the new president who's coming in. And it's just bizarre. Someday in the future, when they write this in history, or when they make a movie about it, people are going to be going, that couldn't have happened. But what I'm afraid of is, now once we've had a president like this, then I think it's going to be easier, because also the ones that come, you know, some that want to be president will now think, in the past they would have thought, well, I can't make it. I couldn't make it because, you know, nobody's going to elect somebody who feels the way I do or acts the way I do or says what I'm, but in the future they're going to say, well, no, the bar has been lowered. I can, you know, I can campaign for president of the United States and wear blackface when I go into a black community. I mean, there'll be no limits. And people in the past, you know, or people would have thought, you know, if you were running for president, well, I can't lie, at least not, you know, not on things that can be checked or whatever. Where you have Trump, who President Trump lies, and there'll be video of him. You know, the day before he'll say, you know, it's such and such, you know, and then the next day he'll say the exact opposite, and then the news media will say, Mr. President, you said yesterday, and he said, no, I didn't say that. You're lying, you're the lying press that's not, and then attacks him, you know, all that. I mean, it's just amazing. A Scottish deerhound wins the top prize at the National Dog Show. I wonder if we'll see what a Scottish Deerhound looks like. Oh, okay. That's what a Scottish Deerhound looks like. Okay. Back, I think, here. See the view from the world's tallest outdoor elevator. Oops. Is that it here? I guess that's it there. Oh wait, it says see the view from the world's tallest outdoor elevator. So wait a minute, I guess I better, this person must be. Yeah.
因为它那个电梯车都很快。
Okay. China.
我们也没来过这个事情，第一次说应该感觉很好。
Wow. Well, I hope we do not kick this young man out of the United States. This student here is a Latino, and he's one of these people who, as a minor, came across into the United States, and under Democrats, they have been allowed to, provided, that they haven't committed crimes and all that kind of stuff. They came over, they were minors, they go to, our grade schools, our high schools, and our colleges or stuff, and they're talented and they're smart, and we need those kind of people in the country. And the Republicans want to kick them all out of the, the United States. Anyway, here's a person who's become the first Latino Rhodes Scholar. Bill Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar. Who else? I think Al Gore was. I wouldn't swear to that. I think Al Gore was too. Let's see. Europe pushes to rescue Christmas despite sacrifices of other religions. Europe pushes to rescue Christmas despite sacrifice of other religions. I'm not sure I know what that means. The Minneapolis mayor and the chief of police have announced new policies for no-knock warrants. From the very beginning, when no-knock warrants first came about, I was opposed to them and thought they were wrong and knew what was the type of stuff that was going to happen, and sure enough it happened. So they do need to, I'm not going to look at this or read or what, but every place needs to, police departments, let's see, there was, okay, I was living in, I think I was in Dallas. Was I in Dallas before we're living? anyway, I think, okay, no, it wasn't, I'm thinking it was Plano, but I might be wrong. No, it wasn't Plano. Okay, someplace around here. The police uh, had a warrant for marijuana trafficking or something. Supposedly one of their undercover people or something bought a small amount of marijuana from some house, somebody in the house. And so the police decide to execute a no-knock warrant at like 4 a.m. or something like that. You know, they smash the door down and go in. And I forget if they shot and killed somebody. That was the wrong house. Can't remember exact details, but it was just the classic, you know, there was no reason to, you know, do the no knock. They did the no knock just at a time, you know, when people are sleeping, you know, and it was just, that was just, the entire thing was stupid. So now there might be occasions when, yeah, you do, very rare. It should be really rare. And maybe, I don't know what their new policy is, you know, but come on, people, you know. The White House new sculpture makes history. Where the heck's that? Okay, I'm not an artist, but come on. Come on, folks. I used to be a welder. I could whip one of these up in no time at all with some spare, you know, metal, I think. I guess that's ridiculous to, I have no artistic ability, but come on, folks. Come on. Who picked this? First work, they probably have a committee that, you know, could pick, I hope, you know, that the White House would have the Peace Title IV frame was unveiled by the First Lady in the Rose Garden on Friday, designed in 1962. The sculpture is composed of rectangular blocks that appear to sink and rise from the ground. Well, I guess you could see, okay, this could, you think it might be coming out of the ground. This picture, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not an art critic. I guess I am an art critic. Not a good one, though. Okay. You know what, I missed a news story that I wanted to comment on CNN. I wanted to comment, see if I can find it. Probably down here at the bottom. This chair definitely does not have enough padding for my butt. Okay, where is it? Ooh, look at the food. Okay, let me see if it's in the list here. Nope. Okay. Well, let me tell you what it was about if I can remember, and I can't remember this state. A CEO, the head, the president, a leader of a hospital had the virus, and he got over the virus. And I think it said, it seemed like a lot of people, that he sent out a email to 60,000 people saying that he had had the virus and he was over the virus, and therefore it wasn't necessary, and he was not going to be wearing a mask. Well, he's no longer employed by the hospital. You know, I'll give somebody, unless there probably already is, if I did a search on YouTube, there probably is. Let me just do a search on YouTube. No, I won't. Somebody should have a YouTube channel. What would it be? Dumbass of the Day. And you could actually have more than one dumbass a day. And that, so here's a guy who should be Dumbass of the Year. I mean, or the day. And he's the head of the hospital. Well, that's what I wanted to mention too. So he's CEO of the hospital. Now you're probably thinking, okay, well, he's a doctor or something. No. One of the, more than one, but one of the hospitals I worked at, we would get somebody a new graduate from a college in St. Louis, Missouri, and they had a degree program for hospital administrators. And so our hospital would be hiring these people, and they actually hired a bunch of them, because this hospital, like the other hospitals I worked at, there was a hospital administrator and a couple assistant hospital administrators or whatever. And that was it. This hospital that I worked at, which was maybe twice the size of these other hospitals that I worked at, they had, you know, the CEO and a couple assistant men, and then they had like 20 vice presidents, and then they set up a corporation. Maybe they set the corporation up before. So they had the hospital as a corporation, and they had this other corporation above them, which owned the hospital, and which had this. They also had a healthcare. They had a collection agency that was in the corporation. They had a exercise center that was in the thing, and just well, you would not believe the. I got written up, by the way, for saying disparaging things about the hospital administration or about the vice president or something like that. I repeated it after I got written up. On the elevator with a bunch of people, and something came up or whatever, and I said, oh, the elevator did something. And I said, well, I wonder which one of the Health Midwest vice presidents is in charge of elevators. And everybody, you know, the other employees and doctors and whoever were, you know, they laughed, you know. And I remember being outside, and a guy that was in charge of, he was like a department head, and one of his vehicles or something was parked way up something. I can't remember what the details with the thing when I was up there, you know, to check on him, you know, because somebody was up there by one of these trucks or whatever it was. I went over, and he had an ID tag and everything, and he said, I don't know how this thing, I don't know. I said, well, one of the Health Midwest vice presidents must have had something to do with that. And he said, yeah, you're right, I see, you know how, you know. But anyway, so this guy's the CEO of this hospital here, and he sends out 60,000 people. They don't have I don't think this, because I think this place was this was not in New York City. It wasn't even New York State, not in California. I forget where this hospital was. So he must have sent it out to maybe there was 5,000 or 10,000 employees, but he's saying he must have sent it out to anybody who's ever been a patient there or something, saying that he wasn't going to wear a mask. But anyway, but in this little thing, he's, after he's fired here, he says, well, I had the virus, and I had the CDC or whoever, that's not necessary. Well, no, they say it is necessary. Even after you've had the virus, if you're out in the public, wear the mask. And then he said something about, well, I was trained in infection control or something like that. Bullshit. What he did, maybe, and probably not, is all hospital employees have to be. I was a security officer. I had to be trained in infection control. What the different, levels of, what do they call it too? Not standard procedures. I forget what it was called. Because a few times I used it, like once 3 o'clock in the morning, I went over to the door. I just happened to go to the door that was locked. The entire hospital was locked up, but I went over the door and there was a guy just coming up the door. So I opened the door up and he said, I woke up in a sweat. And I think I have AIDS. And I want to be checked. So I said, come on in. I took him over there. And the nurses were around the corner there. Oh, standard, I think, that's not it, but I'm going to say, whatever the term was, I stepped around the corner and said, got a guy here that says he woke up with sweats and he thinks he has HIV, I forget, HIV or, AIDS, I forget what I said. And I said, I think, I probably got it wrong, but I said, I think you need to use standard procedure, whatever it is. Of course they knew that, but I was just kind of trying to be a little bit funny. I think you need to use, what's the standard procedure, put it when that was kind of, so they go around. That was kind of early in, when HIV was, not the very beginning, but early. One of the nurses was pregnant. And when she walked up, he said the same thing. Then when I put him on, just have a seat on the car, Chip. And he walked over, and they were at the nursing station. And he came over, and he said the very same thing. He said at the door, I woke up, blah, 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 blah. And the nurse that was pregnant, she backed up a few feet, I think I told this story back a little bit. He came back to the hospital the next day, and he said then that the fillings in his teeth were poisoning him. And I'm not sure if that's when he said, but he said I masturbated and that took care of the problem, I think. And then I was off the next day. He came back the next day, and I forget what he said. And he wanted him to do a test for something. And then after he left the hospital, he went and committed suicide. So, anyway, this CEO of this hospital says that he was trying to make it sound like I think he was trying to make people think that he had a degree or something in infection control or something like that. And I think what he was talking about was that, and I don't think he probably even took it. Security guards did, the housekeeping people did, the cafeteria people did, and of course the nurses had to take it too, even though they were, trained in it big time. But he said that as, well, I don't think, I was an EMT. I was also for years and years a CPR instructor. Let's take the CPR instructor. Every employee had to be certified in CPR, not just the nurses, In fact, nurses had to be, I certified nurses in CPR, which is kind of funny. And, I was certifying CPR nurse, or ICU nurses in CPR. But the nurses had to take advanced, and they had to be certified in that too. It didn't, and it wasn't just enough to be certified in, what was it called? And doctors had to, actually, I think it was the same thing. No, maybe not. The doctors had to also take, that's where, the doctor and the nurses had to do the same thing. But I think maybe the doctors was a higher level, a little bit. But anyway, they have the mannequin there or whatever, and the doctor who has to be certified, every 2 years or whatever it was. Okay, your patient's, heart rate is this, oxygen sat level is it, whatever, and the doctor will say, administer such and administer such and such. Okay, now doctor, the blah 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 blah, okay, administer this, administer that, and then eventually it might go into having to do chest compressions and the whole bit. So, but anyway, so this CEO, this dumbass CEO, but now that I think of it, I don't remember ever certifying a hospital administrator in CPR, and all hospital employees had to be certified in CPR. I don't remember ever hearing that one, and so this guy's, he made a mistake. He's unemployed. I mean, I forget the town, small town, it's a small state, and I'm sure he was living there and making a good salary. By the way, if you're thinking, okay, the hospital administrator, he decides which doctors are going to be on the staff. No, the doctors have a group or whatever, and if a doctor wants to be on that hospital staff and operate or be able to admit patients or whatever, his credentials and all that type of stuff, they have to be interviewed by the other doctors, and then that's, so there's, situations like that. In my time as a hospital security officer, twice I escorted doctors off of the property who had their privileges rescinded. They could no longer practice at that hospital. They could visit somebody. If the hospital had, for doctors or medical people, if they had some type of a seminar or something that was open to, if the hospital said, everybody in all the doctors in Kansas City, Missouri, you're welcome to come. We're having this seminar today or for 3 days or whatever. Those people could come. But those two that I escorted out could not come back to admit a patient or anything at all like that. The two doctors, one of them was a doctor that everybody liked, kind of like a country doctor. And, but, well, the reason the nurses and people liked him is he, they knew, the nurses, I could say, doctor, could I get a prescription for this? Sure. Whatever. And there was a nursing aide who worked there at the hospital a long time, and he might have even been her doctor. I don't think so, but he might have even been. And she was prescribed, I forget what it was. She tried to kill herself and took that, ended up in the hospital psych unit. First as on the medical unit, then was transferred to the psych unit for a while. Then she came back to work, and she was just back to work. And he's coming down the hall, and she goes over to him, and says, "Can I get a prescription for the very thing that she had taken to, try to kill herself?" And then she asked for a stronger dose of it. And then she asked, normally too, for something like that. That's how a lot of people screw up. Somebody goes to the emergency room and the emergency room doctor writes a prescription for 10 of something. And then when they leave, they make that 10 to 100 or something, something like that. And then of course, when it goes to they go to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy, they don't, nope, too many of this type. Also, the strength is too, all this type of stuff. Anyway, she asked for a stronger strength, and she asked maybe you were allowed to have a prescription for 30 or something, And she said, could you make it for 60 days or something? Yeah, okay, make it for 60. And I'm not sure which, but there's a whole bunch of these for this doctor. And two, he owned a tavern. Maybe he owned it with a partner, I don't know. And he was taking coupons around and giving them to employees, maybe patients too, free drink. And of course, that's against the liquor control. You're not allowed. Maybe in some states you are, I don't know, but they have the rules for and I think they're pretty much standard. You can't go around handing out, coupons for free drinks, especially at a hospital, especially if you're a doctor or whatever. So I escorted him out. The other doctor was, we just locked up the hospital. I think the emergency room was still unlocked, but a car comes speeding the wrong way. And of course, there weren't very many, it was after 9 o'clock. There weren't very many cars in. Person comes speeding, and he goes the wrong way through this little thing. Okay, no big deal. It's, there's no traffic, whatever. And he goes up, and of course, I start heading that way because I know the door's locked. And so I go up there, walking. I'm not being some smart ass and, okay, make him wait. I've done that to somebody, but I wasn't doing it, and I go up there and, can I help you? And he says, I need to get in. And I said, something, and he says, I'm Dr. So-and-so. I said, okay. I didn't recognize him, never seen him before as far as I know, and I unlocked the door. And then I walk on in, and I'm behind him, and then he goes by the counter where there's an employee who I know, she worked in the admitting. I said, and he could hear me, I said, do you know who this is? And she said, yeah, it's Dr. So-and-so. I said, okay. So I get on the elevator with him, then I ride up. I didn't like his attitude, And we go up, and then he gets off, and he goes right around behind takes up the chart, And so I knew he was a doctor at this point. Well, I knew he was a doctor before. I knew he was a doctor when he was the asshole and speed through the parking lot and drive the wrong way, and But then I asked the nurse at the nursing station, you know who this is? And she said, yeah, it's Dr. Son. I said, okay. So I went down, and then I was just putting on my activity sheet, his license, make, model, and license number of the car, and then a notation on there. Oh, I smelled alcohol when he got to the third floor. I did smell it on the elevator with him. When I got up to the third floor, I smelled the alcohol, and so I put that on there. Now, he was a plastic surgeon, because somebody said, he's a plastic surgeon. So I think it was like a year later or something, maybe longer. I never saw him again. Never saw him again, and that's not unusual, I mean, sometimes you'd see him come in for, surgery at night or something, but I got a notice. They said, you need to go stand outside such and such. My doctor's being kicked off the medical staff, and just stand by and make sure there's no problem, So I stood outside the door, and then he came out, and then I escorted him out. But I asked somebody, I said, forget who I could have asked. I asked somebody, why was he kicked off the staff? And they said, such and, I forget what it was, such and such, and, you know, it was something like, I don't know, unprofessional conduct or something, and for being intoxicated and in the hospital or whatever. And I thought, oh, okay, that was, they went through, I'm sure they went through the paperwork and found mine so they could have something else to, you know, maybe the other one was like he was drinking, you know, or somebody smelled it, and they wanted to find, and they went through the files and found. So anyway, thank you oh, wait a minute, was I going to, no, I already showed you the turkey. Okay, thank you very much for watching.